Hi, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Flock Talk. I'm Robin Sullivan of the Leather Elves. Hope everybody had a wonderful week. We are here tonight. I've got to do the reminders for those of you that aren't with us a week to like Elves on Facebook. That way you get notifications. You can check our Facebook page to catch surprise sales, pop-up events, follow the Leather Elves on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So lots of different ways to get the information. And we're always talking about something different. So I have been lucky enough over the past few years to become acquainted with some amazing people at Ziggy's Haven Parrot Rescue in Florida. And so tonight, I get to have two of them on as my guests, and we're going to talk about how things go when you welcome a rehomed bird into your home. So I want to introduce Laura and Kim. Hi guys, how's it going?
Going great.
Can you can you tell that they're thrilled to be here? No, I, yeah,
We
I
both
just
got
saw
here
them
early.
when so we've got a lot to talk about, but I need to know from you guys, how do you, I mean, for me, you guys are the face of Ziggy's. You have a ton of great volunteers and can always use more, right? But tell me how you guys got to be part of Ziggy's Haven.
So I'll go first here. In 2016, my umbrella cockatoo and my husband were not getting along very well at all. I started working out of my home. And my husband was working from home. So I started to look for options to possibly find another evolution for him. I came across Ziggy's, happened to be in Florida, couldn't believe it. It was in my backyard. And I had done research on a lot of different facilities. So I started calling them. And this is while Wendy was still in DeKalb, Georgia with the big hoarding case. So she wasn't even home. Set up a meet and greet so I could go to the house and see how they were set up. And they accepted Louis into the sanctuary program, thinking he was a different bird. Somebody else had actually gotten a hold of them prior about an umbrella cockatoo and a situation, and they did not realize that I wasn't that person. So they said, "Yeah, sure, all set, come on in." And yeah, so Louis lives here as a permanent resident. My husband now has a much quieter home, sort of. We have a different bird at home. Um, but it helped out a ton. He was able to live here and I still own him. And that was one of the neat things that Ziggy's did that no other sanctuary offered me was I still own him. He's still my baby. I could come on the property and see him. Sometimes I jumped a locked gate. That got me in a lot of trouble. But um, it worked out really good where I could still have my baby in my life. And then I kind of just stuck around here. So January of 2017 is when I started. And I love it. I
So
love it.
I thought you were going to tell me that you had a new husband or you didn't have a husband at all when you said that, the bird wasn't getting along
Mhm.
with your husband. But, it sounds like you found a viable option, so that's good. Uh, so Kim, what
I
about
really like
you?
my husband too.
So actually, my story, my first bird actually came from a coworker of mine, and it was an umbrella cockatoo. And Rocky is actually my husband's bird. But after getting acquainted with him, I was jealous. I wanted my own bird. So I actually found a business card for Ziggy's, started volunteering and adopted. My first bird was a red lord Amazon. She has since passed, but I now have a blue and gold that I've adopted from Ziggy's. I foster a bird for Ziggy's. Um, so there are now, we've gone from two birds to six in the home. And I started, as part of Ziggy's adoption process, you volunteer. And at the time that I started, I was a hospice nurse. And the reaffirmation of the birds and the adoption compared to what I was doing in hospice, again, Laura started in January of 2017. I started in February of 2017, and neither one of us have left since then.
It's, I love visiting because I always know that there's going to be a smile there. I know that, I mean, you guys are doing such great work. Um, but one of the things I want to talk about is adoption as an option. So I was thinking about that when we were discussing, what we were going to talk about. And um, I want people to know that adoption is an option and it's a very good one. Um, but there are other ways to acquire birds. Sometimes it's you get gifted, which is sometimes how they end up at Ziggy's in the long run. And I've talked to people about that, that if you're going to gift your bird to someone, if you in your will or whatever, make sure they know about it. I mean, have you guys experienced that issue?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Recently, even.
So we do know that happens. And the other thing is, some people purchase birds, and as long as people are doing their research, I feel like, that's an option too. So let's talk about the pros and cons of a rehomed bird. So tell me from your perspective, and I know you're biased because I mean, and that's okay. What are the pros to adopting a rehomed bird?
So, for I think all of us, I bought my first cockatoo. I purchased it in a pet store. Louis, my husband, purchased for me in a pet store because the bird didn't like anybody else. um, Wendy and Glenn, our founders, purchased their first bird. So we understand that. But once I think you realize that rescue is out there and is as prevalent as it is, it does slant things a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
with adoption, you come with a team if the adoption is done properly. You come with all the support services, you come with our years of rescue background, you come with all of our staff's rescue background or bird knowledge. Some of them were former breeders, some of them were just they inherited their birds. But then you have a team on your side that you can work through a lot of the issues that cause these birds to be rehomed. There's ways around it. And there's ways through it to get to the other side to have that well adjusted and well rounded parrot that you've always dreamed of. With the realities of they don't all talk, they don't all sing, they don't all dance, they don't perform. Some of them are just really pretty. They like to hang out and they like to be with you. So I think for us, where we are, where we've seen, adoption is a huge open door. We've had people that, we had a gentleman, God bless him, he was 80 years old. He purchased a baby blue and gold macaw. So the blue and gold came to us when he was 82 and the bird was 2. And those are situations that we just wish breeders would qualify their people a little bit better. There are some breeders out there that are not ethically looking at those big picture or even short run. I mean, that one was, not all that uncommon. That one was a little extreme, but those are things where we go, we're full, we're busting at the seams and we have a bird for you if you just take a little bit of time. So it's really important to know that when the bird picks you, it's such a different reality than you getting a bird and forcing yourself on it. You end up with that partnership and that devotion, and you get the insight of what do they like, what kind of music do they like, what's their favorite food, and ways to bond with them that just really makes the whole parrot owning experience so much better.
I really do agree with you, and I think, there are some breeders and some stores that do the due diligence and they do the
Right.
education. And, I've seen both sides of that coin, and I've seen both sides of the coin in rescue too. I mean, I know what you guys do. I know how Ziggy's runs, and I know how you care for the birds there. Um, there are not all rescues are like that. And I
Right.
think, but it's definitely it's an option and it's a good one. What about so Kim, did you want to add anything about the pros of adopting or
Well, the pros and cons of adopting. I mean, she went over a lot of the pros. Some of the cons are these are mostly older birds, and a lot of them are set in their ways.
Mhm.
You can't walk into an adoption facility and say, well, I want this bird. Well, if this bird doesn't like you, it's not going to work. And by the time they come to us, some of them have only had one or two owners, some of them have had multiple owners.
Mhm.
So, you've got to come in with realistic expectations.
Yeah. And I think, that's a really good point. My father bought a bird for my son years ago, and he bought it from a store, and and it worked out, and the bird was great. And honestly, there was a piece of me, even doing behavior modification and training and all that, that didn't want somebody else's problem, even though they're not all
Exactly.
problems. They don't all get to you because they're, bad birds. They, but there is that stigma that I think some people have about a rescue bird. And I think,
Yes.
I mean, let's be honest, ladies, you have those birds that come in because they're not the nicest creatures,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, as long as people go into it knowing that you're not getting this little creature that you're going to be able to shape from an egg, it's not going to be that process. But there is a
Yeah.
process to it. It's
Yeah.
just not that one.
Yeah. And one of the things that we have found over the years is we have quite a few birds that are in that teenager phase of their life that were
Mhm.
purchased as a baby. And they were weanlings. Some of them were hand fed. Some of them, I got an egg. That one we've seen a couple of lately. And the owners have just gotten older and can't care for the parrot anymore, and nobody in the family wants it.
Yeah.
Most of those that come to us, it was absolutely devoted family. They were in it with eyes open. They knew they were going to have this bird 40, 50, 60, 70 years. There was a plan for it. And then this bird hits this teenager phase. And we really refer to them when they're doing that like teenage boys. No offense, gentlemen. Teenage girls can be bad too. But it owners have a hard time getting past that, the biting, the screaming, the destruction, the moodiness, the I didn't see that coming, the hormonal behaviors. Well,
Mhm.
we know that children grow past that point and become young adults because we haven't killed them. Um, and the parents, you can get to that same other side with them. It
Yeah.
takes 2 or 3 years, just like it does with people. Couple of years of we're going to send you to auntie's house because you may end up in the morgue if we don't.
Yeah.
That was a
And,
situation at our house.
yeah,
Um,
and
but
I mean, I think we're willing to rehome parrots because it's not illegal to get rid of them, right? Those teenagers, it's illegal to get rid of them, you know?
Yeah,
right,
Um,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely,
but I
and it's
absolutely agree with you.
we tend to hold on to our younger birds, the real young, like the macaws that haven't hit puberty yet. They've got to go to experienced homes, people that have had birds for years, that have that younger family members that want to grow up with the bird, and you can see that thriving passion for them. Or we hang on to them until they get past that, because then when they pick their people, it's a beautiful match. And
Mhm.
we've harness trained the bird, and we've had them on us for nails and wings and all the other stuff, so they've got a great foundation. And when they do say, I'm ready for that person, it's a great match. So
Yeah. So I want to just backtrack a tiny bit. Um, I love, I really love the story of how Ziggy's Haven came to be. Can you guys share that with listeners, please?
Sure. Um, the Wass family, Glenn and Wendy Wass, are our founders, and we got our 501 designation in 2003. As I mentioned earlier, they had purchased their first set of birds. Wendy wanted a Beretta bird, and that's all she wanted was a Beretta bird. Glenn calls her one day and says, "Hey, do you still want a cockatoo?" And she goes, "What's a cockatoo?" I had no idea. And he goes, "A Beretta bird." "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." So Ziggy and Lizzie came to live with them. And it was Ziggy, Lizzie, Josh, Wendy's older son, and Tanya, her daughter, and Glenn and Wendy. And everything was planned around all the kids, all four of them. So Ziggy and Lizzie went everywhere. They did everything with them. They went shopping, they went to the stores, they went on vacations, they went to Home Depot, they did everything together. Well, when people would see that Wendy had birds or the family had birds, they'd say, "Hey, do you want to take my bird? Do you want, I know somebody that's getting rid of a bird." And they didn't understand why, because their birds were just such a tight part of their life. Why would you get rid of a bird that you spent thousands on cage, hundreds on enrichment, never mind the food? That's always on the floor. So Tanya was like, "Mom, we should really start a rescue. People don't know what they're doing." And none of us did. We all started somewhere. So Tanya convinced her mom and dad to start a parrot rescue. So Wendy, being Wendy, she's like, "I don't know anything. We're apparently doing it all wrong with our birds." And Ziggy would be in the car, on her shoulder, on the steering wheel, on the dashboard, no harness, all things that we go, "No, don't do that." We've all done. I, you know, so
Mhm.
she convinced her parents to open up a bird rescue. Now they lost Ziggy to an intestinal blockage after like 3, 4 years. I mean, we're talking $20,000, $30,000 in vet bills. Wendy decided to travel around, and she went to a lot of different facilities all over the country trying to learn how to be a parrot rescue. Talked to vets, talked to other professionals, and really did her homework. So in all of that, they said, "Okay, we're going to do this," and they started Ziggy's. The plan was for Ziggy's to be around. Wendy and Glenn would run it, and when Tanya became old enough, let her have a life, let her go do kids, whatever. And then when she's older, she'd be our next generation that would run this facility with that focus of the birds come first, and really knowing the founder's heart, because she was the founder. We lost Tanya at 17 to a car accident. And I say we lost her, and I wasn't around when Tanya passed away. Um, but she passed away at 17 years old in a car accident, and the family had to decide, do we keep going, or do we just stop, close our doors, take the 30 or 40 some odd birds we have, keep them because we committed to them for life, and just be done. And they decided to keep going. They decided to stay moving forward. And I can't even imagine what that was like. Wendy and I talk about it. We all talk about it, but we don't know what that's like to have that happen and still continue. 19 years this year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
next year will be 20.
Next year will be 20 years that Tanya has been gone. She was on this earth for 17 years. And our adoption center is the Tanya Hart Adoption Center.
Mhm.
That child changed the track of my life. Louis is here because of Tanya. I'm here because of Tanya. So this kid, this 17-year-old kid that had a 15-year-old little girl dream of let's save parrots and help people be better to them, has changed the trajectory of so many lives. It's just
Oh yeah.
phenomenal.
And that when you talk about changing people's lives, there's another facet to Ziggy's that I want to talk about. When I came down last year and was able to work with a group of young adults that you're working with, and Ziggy's works with adults, young adults, and adults with developmental disabilities, developmental challenges, and I really love what you guys do. I mean, for people who don't know me, that's my background. Is I came from working with people with a variety of challenges, physical, cognitive, and watching what you guys are doing with that group of people is amazing. So can you share that with people who are listening?
So, here in Citrus County, Florida, we have a couple of different groups. One is the Key Training Center, and what they are is they are homes for people with developmental disabilities. They are workshop classes, volunteer work opportunities. Um, so, with just the Key Center alone, um, they help make toys for us. Um, there are two different groups that volunteer twice a week, hands on, here at the sanctuary. We've actually had some independent, developmentally delayed people that are either living at homes with their families or living in their own apartments or group homes that we've adopted to, that have some of our birds. And now we're involved with a new group.
Yep, FFSA. Yeah, it's a newer group. They meet every Wednesday just up the road, and Dave, one of their adults that works with these guys, just swung into Ziggy's because he saw our sign, and they actually came out to do a tour. And they're going to be making Leather Elves toy kits for us, so we're super excited about that.
And there's also another group that makes toys with us. It's a group here in Citrus County called Women Helping Women. And it is a group of older retired ladies that actually work one on one with developmentally delayed women. And they make toys, they do different projects around the community and come to visit Ziggy's at least twice a year. So
Nice. And I can tell you guys, like for those of you that are listening, Laura and Kim get to do this all the time, but I just, was down there for a visit, and working with the group from the Key Center was phenomenal. I brought, kits and stuff that they had purchased, and we went over, and they were just so excited to be building, and they knew, like, okay, I want this to go to this bird and I want this to go to that bird.
Yep.
And they were so invested, and it was just, and it's an activity that just about anybody can do. Don't tell anybody that, because I want people to know only certain special people can make toys. But no, I think it's a great project, and it really gets people involved. This is this was on the Rockstar tour. We did visit Ziggy's, and this is the crew that was on that day. These are your volunteers, and it was just so nice, to interact with all the folks that were there. But I wanted to let people know about what you're doing for your community, because it's just really, it's that piece of how Ziggy's does integrate with the community, and I think it's really great, amazing. So, all right. So we talked when you said your first bird was a cockatoo, and Kim's first bird was a cockatoo, and Wendy's first bird was a cockatoo, and hear that a
Got
lot.
you.
And then it's just, so I wanted to talk about starter birds. Does that
Okay.
bird exist? I want to hear what you guys say, and I'll tell you my opinion after.
All right. So I think a starter bird does exist if the research is done. We would not recommend an adult male Moluccan cockatoo to a first time bird owner. That
That's fair.
that's but
on the flip side
yeah.
of that, if that male Moluccan cockatoo chooses that person,
We're
it's
not
going to be
stopping
a
them.
lot easier.
Yeah.
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 No,
So
and
So
it's the I guess the best part about how we do things here is you come in, you volunteer, and you can play with everything from our budgies to parallettes to little conures to big conures. There's our baby.
to the
So
princess.
that's Princess Monty Marshmallow the Third. And whoever walks in this door, that bird is the reason you walked in the door, and she knows it, and you are supposed to be attentive to her and only her, because that's the way it works.
Which
And
is
she will
actually
yell
a
at
good
you.
taste. It's a good taste for what cockatoo ownership is all about.
Yes. Yes. And honestly, if she were adoptable, that bird, we probably wouldn't have a hard time with an educated first time parrot owner because she is just a super bird. She's one of the easiest going birds that we have on the property. Really accepting of a lot of different people and situations. Walkers, wheelchairs, and motorized carts, not so much, but the rest of it is good. And all she does there is run away. So we're good.
Yeah.
Um, so we have some folks that actually recently adopted from us, and I just spoke to them today. They started out, their son wanted birds, and the mom was so funny. She calls me up a couple months ago and goes, "I don't want to say the word starter bird to you, but my son, my 11-year-old, really wanted birds, so we got him a pair of parakeets because we wanted him to start out small, and they were looking at from a damage point of view, like not something that they're going to get their fingers bitten through on when they make a mistake." So after that, they went right from a parakeet to a macaw, to one of our older macaws. And the macaw loves mom, and mom was not the bird person, which is really funny. But they
I
did a
swear they
lot of
know.
research. Yeah, they do. Did a lot of research. They did their homework. They spent the time here, and you could see it was a really good match. So they started with parakeets and then went to macaw. That's a huge jump, and I hate to say starter birds or think about birds that are, because that makes them sound disposable, and they're not. The world record for the best talking bird belongs to a parakeet, and it
Absolutely.
knew 728 words. I mean,
Mhm.
that that is not a starter bird. That is a very intelligent animal, and they're sentient. They have feelings. They feel overwhelmed. They feel stressed. They feel lost. They Those are all things that I don't think we're oh boy, there goes the words.
Anthropomorphic.
That's it. It's um so I don't think we're just embedding, what people think and the way they think onto these animals. I really do think it. We've seen birds that were depressed. The bird that just got adopted, its mate died in my arms here. It was an older bird, and it had a heart attack, and it passed away in my arms with her right there. And it took the bird a while to just kind of come back out of her shell, and we gave her that time. We had
Mhm.
to.
Yeah.
They mate for life. They live in big groups, and we've taken them and put them in cages and supply them everything except what they truly need. And so we need to really respect how they feel and how they what they need, because
Yeah.
you know, it's as good as we can get. We wish we were empty. We wish nobody owned birds as much as
Well,
we love them, but it's
and
reality
I
we live
think
in.
we need to fill in that gap. We need to, we are putting them in cages. We are sharing our lives with them. So we do need to fill in those gaps. But as far as the starter bird is concerned, I love your answer. There is not a starter bird. I mean, and to say that budgies are a starter bird or parakeets, have you been bitten by one of them? That little pinchy?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
so yeah.
Yep.
There's, it's not it's just a matter of will it need stitches or not. I mean, I think
Right.
that's, when you talk about a starter bird, how's your health insurance is the question when
Yeah,
it comes to a starter bird.
and
absolutely.
your
But
pain
And your
tolerance.
pain tolerance. Yep.
yeah. Um, well, and it goes back to that, we've had those teenagers. Yeah, Jody says she'd rather be bit by a macaw. Worst bite she ever Janice's worst bite she ever had was from her cockatiel. So yeah, I mean,
Yes.
Kim's
Yeah.
agreeing all along right here. So let's talk about the adoption process. It's not, I don't come walking in and go, hey, I want a bird. I'm going to take him home today. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I think
Often.
that in some retail situations, that's what happens.
Yes.
Not all, and I think even in some rescues, that's what happens,
Mhm.
and so what does the process look like at Ziggy's?
So our process is an evolution because at Ziggy's, you would come in, the bird would say, "Yeah, I like you," and shortly thereafter, it would go home when we first started. So our adoption process, I think we're always evaluating what we're doing and how we're doing it and what's best for the birds. And we apologize to the people all the time because you are not the one living in a cage. So we don't care how big your checkbook is. If the bird doesn't like you and you're not willing to do the time, you're not going home with the bird. We need your
Well,
money.
I'm going to stop you. I just want to stop you for 1 second. Jody
Yeah,
is a store owner, and Jody says never home on the same day. And I
yeah,
think that because a lot of times, especially in a store situation. It's that impulse buy. Well, this is
right.
a sentient creature. You can't do an impulse buy, or you shouldn't do an impulse buy. And I
Or gift
think,
buy.
it's that connection. And when we were on the Rockstar tour, we stopped at Companion Parrots Rehomed in Pineville, North Carolina. And I was watching, they have people come in, and I think it's similar to what you guys do, work with the birds. And there
Mhm.
was a young man, and he was in, it was a quiet room with a cage with the bird that he wanted to adopt. And the bird was up against the corner of the cage, and the young man was standing over him. So there were four of us standing outside watching him through the window. And I said, tell him to sit down. Tell him to sit. So he did. And the second he sat down, that bird came right out, came over, and was like all about him. But if he'd have brought that bird home and not had those four mamas standing there watching him, interact with this bird, that might never have happened.
Yeah.
So, okay, I wanted to share that with you. But so if a bird picks a person, it's still a process though, right?
Yes. Yes. So it can be anywhere from a few hours to up to 40 hours. It depends on the people, the level of experience, how teachable they are, and what the bird is telling us about the connection. So you come in, you fill out the paperwork, we check references, you come in, work with the bird, we educate you while you're here. And then there's a home visit once we've gotten you narrowed down to yes, it's in Amazon. Then we know what size cage is appropriate. Bigger is always better, but we give them, it hopefully is not hopefully, it is not going to be any smaller than the cage they're in right now. And we're usually bigger. And then we go to the home visit, which we don't care about dirty dishes, we don't care about new furniture. We care about where's your bird going to live? Is it a member of the family? Or, were you looking for an aviary bird? Like all those qualifiers. And then usually Kim does a lot of our home visits, so I'll let her pick up here on the home visit part.
So a lot of what we do in the home when we do a home visit is continued education, or at least that's what I like to call it. Be aware of where your bird is. Is your bird by the kitchen? If your bird's by the kitchen, what kind of cookware are you using? Do you have Teflon? Things that are going to hurt your birds. Do you have ceiling fans in the home? If your bird is out, make sure your ceiling fans are off. Do you have these little plug in air fresheners? Sorry,
Yep.
if you're bringing a bird home, that's not going to work anymore. What are you using for cleaning? All the little things that while you're here, we're going over things like temperament, we're going over diet, we're teaching you what to look for if your bird gets sick. And in the home, it's like, okay, your bird can get caught in the curtains, your bird can get caught in the blinds, they can get caught in the ceiling fan. So it's just the little things at home, like Laura said, we don't care if your dishes are dirty. We don't care, what your house looks like as long as you've got a good space and that bird is going to be a part of the family, a part of the environment because it is a flock animal and that's what it wants. If you have other animals, we also go over, introductions, how to introduce your bird to your dog or to your cat, to
Mhm.
make sure that everybody stays safe and happy.
So, I'm going to ask this question. Is there anything that's a deal breaker when you go out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
fine. I think that's
Um,
important.
okay. First thing is cage size. We've told people, people have said, well, this is what I've got in this space. Well, then you need to look at a different bird because that cage size is not going to work for the one that you're looking at.
Mhm.
We've had a few homes that just weren't safe. They were doing or they needed to do remodeling, and it's like, it's great, but now is not the time for a bird for you. Um,
Mhm.
like Laura said, we check with vets. You know, if you don't have an established avian vet, that's fine. We have several that we can recommend, but if you have other animals, do your vet your animals. You know, how do your other animals look? So if your other animals look unkept, then a bird that requires a lot of maintenance is probably not going to do good in the home. So
So Janice asked, do you adopt out to smokers?
We have a whole discussion there. There's a lot of smokers that don't smoke in their homes.
I'm one of them, I'll be
And
honest.
and my neighbor across the street is another one. She doesn't smoke inside her house. She smokes out on her lanai, back door open. So yes, but that's a massive qualification conversation
Yep.
because
Yep.
of the risk. We had a bird here, Cindy, was here for a long time. She came to us with nicotine poisoning. She had no feathers. What she did have was barbed to the quill. It took them 6 months before the bird had a clean tox screen done. Oatmeal baths. The bird smelled like an ashtray for 5 months. When they moved the bird's cage away from the wall, there was bar marks from the nicotine that was on the cage, so it looked like the cage was still there in the wallpaper. It was horrible.
Mhm.
It's not healthy for us. It's not healthy for them. So it's a lot of conversation. You know,
Right.
if you forget and you walk from your garage out your front door, like things happen, but it's just a qualification. They've got to understand the risk. And then we'll pull up, here's what the lung system looks like. Here's why they had canaries in coal mines. Everything
Mhm.
can be a teachable opportunity. Um, and there are some people that have gone, I really don't need this, and they really want the bird and they want it to work, and they don't want to risk it, and they've cut back or they've not smoked
Mhm.
any longer. And vices are vices. It's
Yeah. And
yeah,
I mean, I think honestly, Kim smokes, I smoke, we know this, Jody smokes, and it's we have a choice. We can choose to
right,
smoke or not smoke. Those birds
right,
don't have a choice to be in that environment.
right, right,
And it's a matter of and it's the same, birds don't choose to be in bad situations when they end up,
right,
coming to Ziggy's if they're
right,
taken out of a bad situation. It's not their choice. So we've got to give them
right,
that second chance.
right.
So you guys do a lot of education, when someone
Yes.
comes to adopt a bird. What if I come in and I say to you, "Oh, I know. I know all about birds. I'm good. I got this. You don't even have to tell me." So do you send him to Kim? Is that it? Kim's the tough guy?
Oh no, they send them
Listen,
my way. And if they really tip me off, we call in Wendy.
There you
So we've actually had situations like that. Couple, it's I don't mean to laugh. We love the people that have a heart for rescue. and we really do appreciate them, and I don't want this to come across any other way. We did have a person a couple years ago walk into this facility when we were here on this property, and she wanted a bird that day. She could have written the big check. I mean, she could have been one of our biggest donors probably in the long run, but she did not want to spend the time face to face with the bird. And it's a policy, and it is just a policy period. If I come in one day and Kim took in a parrot, because I'm desperately looking for a parrot again. Mine passed away. I still have to show them that this bird is interested in me and I'm interested in it. I can't take it home right when it hits the door. I have to go through a process, and I'm here all the time.
Mhm.
So she wanted the bird same day, and we had to say no. I talked to her for a long time. I could tell she knew parrots. At least she gave all the right answers. She showed me pictures of her setup of her other birds at her home, and it was gorgeous. It's our policy. And if we break it for you and you've got a big checkbook, is that fair to not break the policy for the guy that has the smaller checkbook, but has the same love for the animals? So it's just not a thing.
A policy is a policy, and I think, if you're in it, you're in it for the long run anyway. Why do I need that immediate gratification? Okay, so maybe I really would love it, and I this bird, we hit it off, it's great, yay, I want to bring it home today. It's just not the policy, and I can wait, to work with the bird a little bit. Georgie
On
says
the flip,
sorry.
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, Georgie, Bird here says, "Laura, I'm so sorry, parrot mama." She's a parrot mama as
I
well.
see the picture. He's beautiful, and
But,
that's yeah. And he said
but so
we got him back from the cremation, and he sat at the office. I couldn't even bring him home for a couple weeks. I just was a wreck.
oh,
Now,
I'm sorry.
on the flip side of that, but on the flip
Yeah,
side of the not doing the same day, um, back to a lot of the education that we do, we've actually had people come in, volunteer, and say, "Thank you very much. This is exactly what I needed to know, that this is just not for me."
yep,
A and
You
that's the
know?
reality. I mean, it isn't for everybody. It isn't, not everybody is cut out to be a bird owner, and or a
yep,
bird companion, and I think that's important for people, and it's honestly, those are the ones that when they come in, whether it's a store, whether it's a rescue, they come in and they go, "Yeah, no, this I can't do this."
yeah,
That kinda makes me happy when I see that happen
yep,
because I know that that bird's not gonna go and then be back. Um,
right, right. See,
so
and like we had when we talked about adopting being one of many options, we had a young guy come in. Parents were completely on board. Everybody was driving up. They truly wanted an African gray. They wanted a gray. The only gray we had at the time wouldn't give this poor kid the time of day. He spent 2 weeks driving up an hour and a half, sitting with this bird and trying to make friends with this bird. And it was the only gray we had. And I felt so bad when we had to say, "Do you want to start working with somebody else? Because this is not working."
mhm.
And they stopped coming, and I'm not sure if they ended up buying a bird or how they went about it. But those are the things that we really feel badly when you have somebody that's willing to do the time, and we just don't have the species that they're looking for. But then 2 weeks after they stopped coming, we got more grazing. It's just a if you're patient just a little bit, it's going to show up. Yeah,
Well, and I think too, Nick had a question. He wanted to know, how do you guys feel about apartments or condos?
apartments and condos. Apartments, we have to have um, the apartment manager's permission or whoever the facility is, and that's kind of dicey because if they move, they're going to rent somewhere else, and can they take the bird?
Yeah.
We've got a situation right now. One of our adopters was renting, all permission, no problem. They sold the house. He's now somewhere else, and we're boarding his birds until he gets he's going to buy a house now. But
Mhm.
until he gets there, we're boarding his birds. They're all Ziggy birds, except for one. But we're boarding them to help him out so he can take his birds back home. Condos are a little bit more flexible because you own that space. Um, as far as apartments and condos, we don't recommend macaws and cockatoos like ever. We really try to steer people away from that. African
Mhm.
grays and your smaller birds, your less vocal
Yeah.
birds, do really well there. And depending on the Amazon, yeah. So
Yeah.
it really depends. It's situational. We're willing to talk to anybody about any of it because it's up to the bird. So
Yeah.
like I wouldn't my Moluccan, she needs to be in a house. Monty is like a really on the quieter side of a Moluccan.
I've had her
Now,
for sleepovers. I know what she's like at night. It's not
Not that.
like what she is here.
Yeah. So,
oh, but
and it
so if I love the whole process that you guys go through, what kind of continuing education should people be looking for? So if I'm coming out, I want to adopt, um, yeah, I find the right bird finds me. What kind of stuff should I be doing afterwards as far as continuing education is concerned?
so yeah.
Um, so part of what we teach while you're here is diet. Um, Good diets. Make sure you're not feeding seed. We give our adopters a packet that goes home with them that includes a chop recipe, safe fruits and vegetables, things like that. The other thing is enrichment. You know, find out what your bird likes. Is your bird a wood shredder? Is your bird a paper shredder? Does it like boxes? My original Amazon didn't like playing with toys, but she loves snuggling up into some little fabric shreds, you know.
Mhm.
So, and the other thing is just bond with your bird, get to know your bird. You're going to know, more about what your bird needs by what it tells you or how it acts
Mhm.
with you.
Yeah. And I think the in
Absolutely.
addition to that is always doing that little bit more homework. Like we strongly encourage target training, not
Mhm.
necessarily clicker training. It depends on your circumstance because multiple birds, you've got to be able to take them where they can't hear the click or the other bird being trained. But target training, that is the easiest behavior modification that we've seen that has a really positive influence across the board. Enriches the bird, gets them to step up on a stick, get them step up on the scale, weighing your bird. That can't be emphasized enough. When you first get them home every couple days, because you don't know how much of it they threw on the floor or they actually ate. So,
Mhm.
and then weekly weighing them and learning what their normal is super important.
Mhm.
And using your vets as a resource that, doing that annual bird exam that can show what else is coming up, all those little things. And then use us as a resource. We're still here for you. If we had some adopters just call us, they were in tears. He was so upset. They didn't want to bring the bird back, but the bird's not happy. So I think I was on the phone with them for about 45 minutes, just brainstorming what is it you guys are doing? Take me through a day, a couple of days, a week, a weekend at your house. What does it look like? And they called back and said it's going better and we're going to try this, this, and this. And they haven't shown back up with the bird and they know the bird has to come back to us.
Yeah.
So it's going better. But and plug it into your community. Like find other
Mhm.
bird people. What are they doing? Pinterest is great for a lot of different options. And I've seen some beautiful aviary setups that I go, I want that for my birds.
Right.
Just
Do you think
always looking for them that little bit more.
Yeah, and you've got big fans of target training. Elaine, who is Kamala's companion, says target training is the best, and Jody says target training is amazing. It gets them moving. I am a huge proponent of target training. I honestly think any bird should be target trained so that you can move them around the cage. If you can't handle them at that point, then when you can, it's still a great way to move them around. And as far as clicker training, I am not coordinated enough to clicker train with a bird. I just can't juggle the reinforcer and the clicker and the bird and just, yeah, without
Yep.
falling down. So I don't do that. Um,
Yeah.
so, all right, we have a few more minutes left, but I want to adopt. I don't
Mhm.
live in Florida. I need to go to I want to go to a local rescue, a local facility. So what do I look for when I go to a rescue? What am I, what questions should I be asking?
Um, Biggest question is what is their adoption policy? What do they expect from you? First off.
Mhm,
And then what can you expect from them? Is this a once and done and they never talk to you again, or is this a ongoing relationship? Well, what if I have a problem with the bird? What if the bird gets sick? What do I do? Um, how do I get to know the bird? Like there's some things that you want to know. You want to have face to face time with the bird. You don't want them to pick the bird for you.
mhm.
What are your fees? Fees. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We have to charge adoption fees. Now it's a donation. It's not an adoption fee. We take a donation for what's going on. That helps us keep our doors open to that next bird. I know a lot of people are like, well, you were given the bird. Well, a well bird visit at the cheap is $250. Um, so what are their policies for that? And then what about a cage? And do you do a home visit? And you want to know what's expected of you, and they should be transparent with that. Um,
Mhm,
you don't want to get into it and then all of a sudden they go, oh well, no, that's not going to work, and pull the rug out from underneath you after you did all this time,
right.
or wrote this big fat check, and then they go, well, that's not going to work. You
Mm,
want to do the homework and do the homework on
okay.
the facility. I recently ran across a facility that says they're a 501, says they do rescue and rehab, and I can't find, and they're in Florida. I can't find anything on the 501. So I want to support rescues. Now, not everybody has their 501 paperwork, and I get that. But
Mm,
what do you do? How are you sustaining these animals? Like you do a little bit of homework. Don't
mhm,
do the breeder that has, 80 breeding cages out in their backyard and they're rehoming newly hatched birds for $900. And it's a blue Quaker, or like do your homework. If you want to rescue, absolutely.
yeah.
But know what the rescue is, I guess
Mhm.
is the part there.
So Nick also asked, do you do FaceTime adoptions for those that don't live near?
We have. We actually had a lady who started correspondence with us that lived in North Georgia, and she was coming to our area for a week. Um, Before she even got here, um, she sent us references from other rescues that she had adopted from. She sent us vet references. She sent us pictures of her place. Um, and then when she came down here, she knew what she was looking for. It wasn't a specific bird, but it
Mhm.
was a specific size, and she wanted the hard luck case. She wanted either the really old one
Yeah.
or the ones that were hard to adopt,
Yeah.
and which was, perfect for a rescue. But yeah, so we've done FaceTime, we've done Zoom, we've done pictures, but we liked the communication. Even
Sure.
after she adopted, we got another one that was another hard luck case that we reached out for, and she's like,
Too
"That's a
big.
little bit too
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
for
Too
me,"
big.
and we appreciate
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the communication is there, and that's what being part of Ziggy's is, or adopting from Ziggy's. You become a part of the family. a lot of our adopters, like Laura and I, stick around to volunteer. A lot of our volunteers just came because they needed something to do or they were going through a rough time. They weren't looking to adopt, but guess what? They have Ziggy's birds in their homes.
Yep.
So we prefer to make it a community, a family, and give you that support because you give it right back to us, and it means a lot.
Well, you've got a fan here. Sherry Shelley says Ziggy's is absolutely 100% the best. My daughter and I love everyone at Ziggy's and their wonderful, beautiful hearts. And I can tell you, I have experienced those wonderful, beautiful hearts, and she's 100% correct.
Yep. And
So
Mary actually
before
gave
I
us
let you guys go, I have we want to help out. Leather Elves wants to help out. So this weekend, we're gonna run a special for Ziggy's, and people get 25% off whatever they want for their birds, and then 10% of any sales between now and midnight Sunday, 10% of the order total will go towards toys for Ziggy's. So spread the word
awesome.
with your friends. If you're down there, if you're not down there, if people want to support Ziggy's, it's well worth it. And you know, we definitely want to support you guys however we can. The other thing
Thank you for
is,
that.
oh, you're welcome. How can people help you continue Ziggy's mission? What do you need from everybody?
So things like this, share this on social media, like our Facebook page, like our Instagram page, like our YouTube channel. We're just starting to build Instagram and YouTube up. We are techno phoebes. It's not our strong point. It is not our. We're good caretakers. But you can like our stuff. You can share it. You can tell friends about it. Share our posts. That sort of thing. That helps, and that's a free way to help. Financially, we're looking for some partners. In the next couple of days, there's going to be. They're on the desk. I think they're underneath the camera. I'm going to be posting some quotes because we just got the next part of the barn to do, and it came up about $7,000 higher than what we thought. So there's going to be a little fundraiser out there. So we fundraisers that even if you could donate $5, that's spectacular, and then hit the share button, tell friends about it, come and see the place. This is our that's our barn project, and it's going really well. We're ready to have the AC run and the drywall put up, and then have the insulation done in the walls, have the security system run, and then have the electrician finish everything. So it's almost there. We're like that close. So go ahead.
No, I was, I saw that building when I was there. That was the picture that I took when I was there last month. And you guys, when this is finished, it's going to be amazing. I mean, your facility's already great, but adding that to it, and you guys should have seen Kim's face when Kim and I were out there, and she's like telling me, and this is going to be this, and this. She just was like about what was going to be in there. So if anybody out there can help out with that, it's definitely,
and then
it's a worthwhile
there's some
investment.
other little things, little things that people can do. Like we have a bunch of different ways that people can financially support us. We're not looking to make anybody broke, but if there were 10 people that watch this, and out of those 10 people, 5 of them gave $20 a month, that's a pretty good day. And like Kim and I both got, we got lunch on the road before we came back to the sanctuary for this. I spent $10 at fast food just for me. Like if I did that a couple of times a month, instead of doing that, I send Ziggy's $20 or $30 a month. I'm not going to miss the run to Chipotle. Sorry, guys. But it's going to make a massive impact here because all of those little nickel and dime 5 from here, 10 from there, 20 from there, 50 from there if they're a little better off. It adds up. Ziggy's, when we moved to this property, it just changed everything. So we're on commercial property. We are, we are a 501c. We can do the tax receipts. This building that we're in has to be renovated. So once the barn building is done, then this is going to get reset. And then when this gets reset, then we're going to the next phase. And like there's a lot of growth here.
Part of the
Nice.
growth.
One thing before
I
I gotta stop you for 1 second. I forgot to mention the code for Leather Elves for the sale for this weekend is
Yes.
Haven, Haven.
Okay.
Then hold on 1 second, Kim. Janice wants to know, does Ziggy's have an Amazon wish list?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
If you actually go to our Facebook page, I will get all that shared tomorrow. So some of the
Nice.
things that we've got ongoing is our Amazon wish list. We've got small fundraisers, we've got pasta fundraisers, we've got sheets.
Love the sheets.
We've got a whole bunch of little fundraisers, a flower fundraiser, a candy fundraiser. Those are ongoing. We post them randomly on Facebook, but you can also find them on our website. But Ziggy's is also open to the public Monday through Saturday. We make a really good day trip. We do a self-guided tour for $5. We do a guided tour for $10.
And coming up in the fall, we're going to have interactive parrot experiences where we set up in one of the buildings with some of the handleable birds, and we'll do an education session, 1 hour, but it's hands-on. You actually get to interact with the parrots. So
I
that's going
love
to be
it.
something that we're coming out.
And for those of us in the Northeast, coming to Florida in the fall or in the winter is really very intriguing. So I think this is something we should think about. But I want to thank you guys, and I want to thank you again for being a guest and for what you do at Ziggy's, and just you know, Sherry mentioned your hearts, and both of you and everyone I've interacted with, Diane, everybody I've interacted with at Ziggy's have beautiful, beautiful hearts. So thank you. And you guys support. And Janice says, thank you for your good deeds. And Elaine says, it's heartwarming to see how much you honor the birds. And Georgie Bird says, thanks for all you do. So you guys keep it up. Thank you very much. Next week, we're going to be chatting with Zeb Ernest and Buddy Waskey. We're going to talk about some educational opportunities that are coming up for AFA and what's new in education with them. So you guys take care, and everybody out there, have a wonderful week. And thank you again for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you do for us, Robin. We appreciate you guys.
My pleasure.
Bye.